When the world doubted you, when nights were heavy and silence was loud, something inside you stayed awake. This is where 2026 begins. This is not a year of apologies, it's a year of receipts. Every scar you earned was tuition, every loss was training, every betrayal was a lesson sharpening your edge. While others talked, you endured. While they laughed, you built. Now the tables don't just turn, they flip. You don't chase validation anymore. You attract respect through discipline, dominance over self, and relentless execution. Let them remember you as quiet, because winners move in silence before they shake the ground. This year, emotions become fuel, pain becomes precision, and excuses die on contact. You wake up early, you train harder, you think colder, and you move smarter. You don't argue, you outperform. You don't explain, you elevate. Success is your revenge, consistency is your weapon, and focus is your shield. In 2026, you don't beg for a seat, you build your own table. Let results speak so loudly that doubt goes deaf. This is the year you stop surviving and start ruling, because winners don't wait for permission. They take responsibility and conquer. Discipline is the foundation of freedom, because without it, your life is run by impulses, moods, and temporary feelings that don't care about your future. Every person who says they want freedom but rejects discipline is lying to themselves, because real freedom is not doing whatever you feel like. It's being strong enough to do what must be done, even when you feel nothing. Emotions are unstable. They change with hunger, sleep, opinions, weather, and fear. And if you let them lead, you will live in cycles of motivation and regret. Discipline is what breaks that cycle. Discipline is waking up when your body begs for comfort, training when your mind negotiates excuses, staying focused when distractions scream louder than your goals. People think discipline is punishment, but discipline is self-respect in action. It is choosing long-term power over short-term pleasure. The undisciplined man feels free in the moment, but is imprisoned by his outcomes: weak body, empty bank account, fragile confidence, and constant anxiety. The disciplined man feels pressure in the moment, but earns freedom later, control over his time, his money, his mind, and his destiny. Discipline removes chaos from your life, because it creates structure, and structure creates momentum. When you are disciplined, you don't waste energy deciding whether to act. You act automatically, like a weapon that fires on command. That is power. Discipline trains you to delay gratification, and the ability to delay gratification is the difference between leaders and followers, winners and complainers. Every time you choose discipline over emotion, you are telling your mind who is in charge. Most people are emotionally reactive. They eat when stressed, quit when tired, lash out when offended, and escape when challenged. That is slavery. Discipline breaks those chains by teaching you to respond instead of react. You stop being controlled by anger, laziness, fear, or validation, and you start operating from logic, purpose, and intention. Discipline makes you dangerous in a calm way, because you are no longer predictable. You don't need hype to move, you don't need praise to perform, and you don't need comfort to continue. You become consistent, and consistency compounds into confidence. Real confidence doesn't come from words or motivation. It comes from knowing you will do what you said you would do, no matter how you feel. That trust in yourself is priceless. Discipline also exposes the truth. If you are undisciplined, it's not because life is unfair. It's because you chose comfort too many times. That realization is painful, but it's also freeing, because it gives you control back. Once you accept that discipline is the price of freedom, excuses lose their power. You stop blaming circumstances and start building standards. Standards create identity, and identity dictates behavior. When discipline becomes your identity, you no longer ask, "Should I do this?" You already know the answer. Discipline sharpens your mind, hardens your body, and strengthens your spirit. It teaches patience, resilience, and focus, skills that pay dividends in every area of life. With discipline, you don't fear pressure because pressure becomes familiar. You don't fear failure because failure becomes feedback. You don't fear loneliness because you are too busy building. Discipline keeps you moving when motivation disappears, and motivation always disappears. That's why disciplined people win in the long run. They are not dependent on feelings. Freedom is waking up without anxiety because your habits are aligned with your goals. Freedom is looking in the mirror without shame because you know you didn't quit. Freedom is choice, and discipline is what earns you that choice. Without discipline, your emotions will dictate your actions will dictate your results. and your results will dictate a life you secretly resent. With discipline, you flip that equation, you decide your actions shape your results, and your results give you freedom. That is why discipline is not optional, not negotiable, and not extreme. It is essential. Discipline is the foundation of freedom because freedom is not a gift you receive. It is a position you earn through control. Without discipline, emotions sit in the driver's seat, and emotions are reckless. They crave comfort, avoid pain, and sabotage long-term vision for short-term relief. A man ruled by emotions feels everything intensely but builds nothing permanently. He starts strong and quits quietly, promises loudly and delivers weakly, dreams endlessly and executes rarely. Discipline interrupts this pattern by installing rules where chaos once lived. It forces order into your day, your thoughts, and your actions, and that order becomes the backbone of independence. When discipline is absent, emotions decide when you work, how hard you try, and when you give up. Tired means stop. Bored means quit. Fear means retreat. That is not freedom. That is captivity dressed as choice. Discipline teaches you to act despite emotion, not because of it. It trains you to show up when you don't feel like it, to stay locked in when motivation dies, and to finish what you started when excuses sound reasonable. This is where power is born. The world doesn't control disciplined people because they are not easily shaken. They don't crumble under pressure because pressure becomes routine. Discipline creates emotional neutrality. You stop being high when praised and low when criticized. You become steady, reliable, and unbreakable. That steadiness compounds into results, and results create leverage. Leverage over time, money, and circumstances is real freedom. People chase freedom through pleasure, but pleasure without discipline turns into addiction, regret, and weakness. Discipline, on the other hand, sharpens desire instead of dulling it. It teaches restraint, and restraint is strength. When you can say no to your urges, you can say yes to your future. Every disciplined decision is a vote for the person you want to become. Every undisciplined choice is a surrender to the person you're trying to escape. Discipline removes decision fatigue because standards replace negotiations. You don't argue with yourself anymore, you execute. That mental clarity is rare, and rare traits create rare lives. Discipline also builds self-trust. When you repeatedly do what you said you would do, even when uncomfortable, your confidence becomes unshakable. You don't need validation because your actions validate you. Emotional people seek reassurance because they don't trust themselves. Disciplined people move silently because they already know who they are. Discipline turns suffering into structure. It gives pain a purpose and transforms hardship into progress. Without it, pain just hurts. With it, pain teaches. Discipline doesn't make life easy. It makes you capable. And capability is freedom. The disciplined individual is not free because life is kind, but because they are prepared. They don't fear adversity because adversity has rules, and they follow them better than most. Emotions fluctuate, but discipline stays constant. That consistency is what separates temporary success from permanent dominance. When discipline governs your life, emotions lose their authority. You feel them, but they don't command you. You experience doubt, but it doesn't stop you. You feel fear, but you move anyway. That is the highest form of freedom, not the absence of struggle, but mastery over yourself. A life without discipline is loud, reactive, and fragile. A disciplined life is quiet, deliberate, and powerful. Freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you want. It comes from being strong enough to do what is required. Without discipline, emotions will keep you busy but broke, comfortable but stuck, alive but unfulfilled. With discipline, you build a life where emotions are passengers, not drivers, and that is where true freedom begins. Discipline is the foundation of freedom because freedom begins the moment you stop being controlled by what you feel and start being guided by what you decide. Emotions are powerful, but they are not intelligent leaders. They panic under pressure, seek comfort under stress, and escape when responsibility appears. If emotions run your life, your future becomes unstable because your actions change every time your mood changes. One day you are inspired, the next day you are tired, and slowly your dreams decay in the gap between intention and execution. Discipline closes that gap. Discipline is the system that keeps you moving forward when excitement fades and resistance rises. It is the inner authority that says you act first and feel later. Without it, your mind becomes a courtroom where excuses win every case. You negotiate with yourself, delay important actions, and justify weakness with temporary logic. That is how emotional slavery looks: busy, reactive, and unfulfilled. Discipline eliminates negotiation. It replaces moods with standards and reactions with routines. When discipline is present, you don't wait to feel ready. Readiness is irrelevant. You show up because that's who you are. That identity shift is where freedom is born. A disciplined person is not easily manipulated because they are not easily distracted. They don't chase pleasure blindly or run from discomfort instinctively. They understand that comfort is expensive and discipline is an investment. Emotional people want immediate relief. Disciplined people want permanent results. That difference shapes everything: health, wealth, confidence, and respect. Discipline trains you to endure boredom, fatigue, and pressure without collapsing. It builds tolerance for effort, which most people lack. And because most people lack it, those who develop it separate quickly. Discipline also creates internal order. When your habits are aligned, your mind becomes calm. Anxiety often comes from knowing what you should be doing but refusing to do it. Discipline removes that inner conflict. You sleep better because you earned rest. You walk with confidence because you kept your word to yourself. Self-respect grows every time you choose discipline over impulse. Emotional control is not about suppression, it is about command. Discipline doesn't eliminate emotions, it puts them in their place. You still feel fear, but it doesn't stop you. You still feel anger, but it doesn't own you. You still feel doubt, but it doesn't dictate your direction. That level of self-mastery is rare, and rarity creates leverage. With discipline, you stop living reactively. You stop being pulled by trends, opinions, and validation. You become self-directed. That independence is freedom. Discipline also compounds. Small disciplined actions done daily create massive outcomes over time. Emotional actions feel intense but fade quickly. Discipline feels boring but builds relentlessly. That's why disciplined people often look ordinary before they become unstoppable. They are stacking invisible wins while others chase visible hype. Discipline gives you the ability to delay gratification, and delayed gratification is the gateway to power. If you can control your urges, you can control your future. Most people are enslaved by what feels good in the moment: food, entertainment, attention, comfort, and they pay for it later with regret. Discipline flips that equation. You accept temporary discomfort so you can buy permanent freedom. Discipline also makes you reliable, and reliability attracts opportunity. People trust those who are consistent. Opportunities flow to those who show up. Freedom is not just personal, it is external. It is options. Options come from value, and value comes from discipline. Without discipline, talent is wasted, potential rots, and ambition dies quietly. With discipline, even average ability becomes dangerous. Discipline sharpens focus, filters noise, and strengthens will. It makes you resilient when life tests you, because life will test you. Emotional people break under pressure because they never trained for it. Disciplined people expect pressure and operate anyway. That calm under fire is freedom. You are no longer hostage to circumstances or feelings. You move forward regardless. Discipline doesn't restrict life, it expands it. It gives you control over your body, your time, your energy, and your direction. Without it, emotions will keep you stuck in cycles, stopping, regretting, repeating. With it, you build momentum, and momentum is unstoppable. True freedom is not doing whatever you want. True freedom is having the strength to do what must be done every day, whether you feel like it or not. Discipline is the foundation of freedom, because freedom is not comfort, it is control, and control only belongs to those who master themselves. A life without discipline feels easy in the moment, but heavy in the long run, because every emotional decision quietly builds a prison you don't notice until it's complete. When emotions lead, logic follows too late. You wake up when you feel like it, work when you're motivated, quit when it gets uncomfortable, and blame life when results don't show up. That cycle repeats until years disappear and potential turns into regret. Discipline breaks that loop by forcing alignment between who you say you want to be and what you actually do. It doesn't care about excuses, moods, or external validation. Discipline demands action regardless of feeling, and that demand is what builds strength. Emotional people believe they are free because they follow their desires, but desires are unstable masters. They demand more, escalate faster, and never feel satisfied. Discipline teaches restraint, and restraint creates space to think clearly, choose wisely, and act deliberately. That space is freedom. Discipline also removes dependency. When you are disciplined, you don't need motivation, hype, or encouragement to move forward. You are self-powered. That independence makes you dangerous in a quiet way because nothing external can stop you. Criticism doesn't derail you. Praise doesn't slow you down. Comfort doesn't soften you. Pressure doesn't break you. Discipline builds emotional resilience by exposing you to discomfort on your own terms. You train yourself to handle stress before life forces it on you. That preparation turns chaos into routine and fear into familiarity. Without discipline, emotions amplify problems. Small setbacks feel catastrophic. Delays feel personal. Challenges feel unfair. Discipline shrinks problems by giving you structure. You focus on process instead of panic. You move step by step instead of spiraling. That calm execution is freedom under pressure. Discipline also creates consistency, and consistency is the language of success. Talent fluctuates, motivation fades, emotions swing. Discipline stays, it shows up daily, quietly stacking progress while others chase bursts of inspiration. Over time, that consistency compounds into confidence, and confidence built on action cannot be shaken. You trust yourself because you have evidence. You know you won't quit because you never do. That self-trust eliminates anxiety. Anxiety often comes from knowing you're not living up to your standards. Discipline raises standards and enforces them. It turns intention into identity. You don't say you're disciplined. You prove it repeatedly until it becomes who you are. When discipline becomes identity, decisions become simple. There is no debate. You do what aligns with your standards, not what feels good. That clarity removes mental clutter. You stop wasting energy negotiating with yourself and start investing energy into execution. Emotional people are exhausted because they are constantly fighting themselves. Disciplined people are calm because the rules are already set. Discipline also teaches delayed gratification, which is the backbone of long-term freedom. If you can delay pleasure, you can delay failure. If you can endure discomfort, you can endure growth. Most people want rewards first and effort later, but life only works in reverse. Discipline accepts the truth and uses it. You pay the price early so you don't pay interest later. Health, wealth, respect, and peace all follow the same rule. Discipline first, freedom later. Without discipline, emotions dictate spending, eating, reacting, and quitting. That emotional leadership creates debt in every area of life. Discipline clears that debt by enforcing responsibility. Responsibility is often misunderstood as burden, but responsibility is power. The moment you take full responsibility for your actions, emotions lose their authority. You stop blaming circumstances and start shaping outcomes. That shift is liberation. Discipline doesn't remove emotions, it ranks them. Feelings become signals, not commands. You acknowledge them without obeying them. You feel fear and move anyway. You feel tired and act anyway. You feel doubt and prepare anyway. That ability separates leaders from followers. A disciplined life may look restricted from the outside, but inside it is expansive. You gain control over your time, your body, your mind, and your direction. That control creates options, and options are the currency of freedom. Without discipline, life happens to you. With discipline, you happen to life. You stop reacting and start directing. You stop drifting and start building. Emotions are powerful, but they are unreliable. Discipline is reliable, and reliability builds results. Results build leverage. Leverage builds freedom. Without discipline, emotions will keep you busy but stuck, entertained but empty, alive but limited. With discipline, you earn the rare privilege of living on your own terms, not because life is easy, but because you are strong enough to handle it. Remember this above all else. Your life will never rise above the standards you enforce daily. Every habit you tolerate is a vote for the future you'll be forced to live in, and every disciplined action is a step toward the life you actually want. You don't improve by waiting for the right mood, the right time, or the right motivation. You improve by acting despite all three. The world doesn't reward potential, it rewards proof. And proof is built quietly through repetition, through consistency, through choosing what is hard now instead of what is painful later. If you feel stuck, it's not because you're unlucky, it's because comfort has been leading you. Comfort feels safe, but it steals your edge. Growth demands discomfort, and discipline is what allows you to stay in that discomfort long enough to transform. Stop negotiating with weakness and start enforcing standards. You don't need a new life, you need a new level of self-control. When you master your actions, your emotions fall in line. When your emotions fall in line, clarity appears. When clarity appears, progress becomes inevitable. The powerful lesson is this: discipline is not restriction, it is self-respect. And the moment you respect yourself enough to do what must be done every day, your life will be forced to improve.